Thanks everyone for taking the time to join today. I want to be mindful of everyone's time who signed in early here. So I'm going to get the presentation started off today on 5 strategies to supercharge your insurance practice with myself, Kyle Langstaff with Fineo, as well as Shyam Ganesh with Valenta BPO. We'll be walking through some ideas to really focus on the digitization of an insurance practice, both from the sales perspective, but as well as the overarching advisory business as a whole, and some of the trends that we've been seeing that can be put into place. We'll be, if we go to the next slide here, and I'll just be turning off my video here. We got some interactive screen share components with Shyam that I just want to be able to make sure you can all minimize our participant video screens and you can get the most out of your web screen as well here. And really today going into it with some lessons learned, both from Finaeo on the insurance sales side, as well as a few other ideas on how to digitize, automate, and delegate from Valenta BPO. We'll be taking roughly about 30 minutes for the presentation, maybe a little bit less, and then keeping it open to 15 minutes or so of Q&A so that we can get you on your way before the hour mark there as well. And if we roll right into the presentation here, we'll start off with 3 lessons learned from Finaeo on digitizing insurance sales practices. Yeah, you can go back there. So a little bit about myself. My name is Kyle Langstaff. I'm the Business Development Director at Finaeo. I've got 13 years experience in the finance industry, as well as 3 years in insurance sales. And a little about me is that I hate paper applications. When I started my first insurance practice, it wasn't that long ago, but everything was still only paper-based apps, triplicate copies with perforated edges. The reason I started a practice was to help clients improve their financial well-being, not to be buried in paperwork. So, even starting up in 2008, I'm originally from Calgary, so I'd be traveling around the city from meeting to meeting with a courier bag filled with stacks of applications, driving from town to town even in rural Alberta, just knowing that one minor typo and it's time to start a new app. I'm sure many of you can relate to that pain, and that's why I'm excited to see how the industry is starting to advance and excited to see where it will go, which brings me to why I joined Finaeo. At Finaeo, our goal is to empower advisors with modern technology by providing a full-service sales tool that can take you from prospect to policy by taking all those disjointing components of the life insurance sales process and putting them on one platform. Additionally, Finaeo is built by advisors for advisors, so day-to-day nuances are really understood. And really, as we get into the presentation here, what we can say is COVID did more than disrupt 2020. For many, it's permanently disrupted how we live, work, and interact. Recognizing those trends early will be critical to determining how many advisors' practices successfully transform and move forward for a new digital era. So that takes us into what we learned about the future state of our industry so far. And our 3 lessons learned: that advisors need to go hybrid and embrace technology, that the generational tide is shifting. So how are you prospecting to the younger generations? And tech and how it helps you, using tech and how it helps you to do more with less. So going into our first key learning, advisors will need to take a hybrid approach to their business, using a mix of online and offline. As we can see with a few quick stats, 1 in 5 clients plan to leave their advisor in the next 3 years, based on research from EY Global Research Report. 50% of clients expect some form of virtual engagement with their advisors. And we've now crossed the threshold where 71% of people have visited sites via mobile versus desktop. So just seeing that society has gone mobile, we're able to put that into perspective, that the everyday client is stretched thin with personal and work needs. Society has officially moved to mobile usage over desktop, and the ability to provide instant information is table stakes. So advisors will need to take a hybrid approach to meet the needs of clients. So that takes us to our takeaway number 1, is that advisors need to go hybrid with a better tech stack to meet your clients in the way they want to be met digitally. It seems unfair to continually pick on the demise of Blockbuster because of its failure to adapt, but that's the space insurance sales is in now. Do you provide that catered services any place, anytime like a Netflix? Or do you wait for the Friday night crowd like a Blockbuster? Going hybrid will keep you top of mind, provide ease of access to your services, and with less time spent on travel or admin and more time spent with clients, you can provide and improve capacity constraints to grow your business. And lesson number 2, The generational tide is shifting, and it's really sink or swim. This year, the millennials begin to turn 40 and are entering their prime earning years. On top of that, Gen Zers are beginning to enter the workforce. The combination of these two generations represent over 40% of the population. Many grew up in an era where smartphones have always existed. They expect instant access to information and the ability to research and transparency of products. But good news for advisors, this cohort is also more advice seeking than the older generations since they grew up experiencing two once-in-a-lifetime recessions, the Great Financial Crisis and COVID. All this points to catered digital financial services not being just a nice to have, but for the evolution of an insurance practice, it's officially a sink or swim scenario. So our takeaway in this state is to ride the wave, accept the digital. We all know change drives decisions, and there are a few changes upon us worth acknowledging. One, and it's been talked about many times for many years, is that we're in the largest wealth transfer in the history of the world. Over $1 trillion. Currently, over half of household wealth is in the hands of the baby boomers, but the millennials and Gen Zers, which make up over 40% of the population, are about to inherit the bulk of that wealth in the coming decades. And two, work from home could potentially become work from anywhere. Companies that have implemented remote work policies include Shopify, Dropbox, Google, Deloitte, Novartis, JP Morgan, BP, and Ford. Those span the tech, pharma, banking, oil and gas, and auto industries. So because of this, your clients could be moving away from you, or on the flip side, prospects could be moving towards you, depending on where you live. The use of digital services will help to maintain those clients' relationships and attract new prospects through what is called the phygital. So the phygital is using technology to bridge the digital world with the physical world, allowing clients to have a unique interactive experience. Think how much easier insurance becomes when you don't need to drive to a client to deliver a policy or pick up a void check, or how much easier it is for a client to fill out their needs assessment and complete an application online versus bringing paperwork into an office meeting. Ease of access to your services can be a driving force to retain clients and grow prospects. And a random thought to consider, what is Google saying about you? It is more likely than ever that a prospect will Google you before they book a meeting. Does your web presence showcase your services, your personality, and what differentiates you? Because statistics show that over 70% of people complete a web search before meeting in person. That's stats for business meetings, but it's also the same for interviews and online dates. So there's just your fun fact for the day. Our third learning, the insurance industry has been slower to change than other aspects of the finance industry. Much of that has had to do with the fact that certain insurance companies in Canada and even the US have been around since the 1800s. Their businesses evolved from telegraph to instant messaging, and legacy systems are a large endeavor to overhaul. As I mentioned, even just a few years ago, my insurance practice was done over paper and fax, and that was only 6 years ago. But we've seen major changes in recent years. COVID pushed paper-based apps to e-apps years forward, if not decades. And with startups like Finaeo, instant quoting and product comparison is at your fingertips. The takeaway here is that there's a world of possibilities ahead of us on how the insurance industry evolves or how we evolve our individual practices. We're no longer limited to a specific office location to complete business transactions. You can prospect and build a client base from coast to coast from your mobile phone, and you can complete time-sensitive documents with a client in just a few clicks, even if they're on a Caribbean vacation. You can provide market insights, share information, and market on the go. You can reduce administrative costs and time in transit. All of this can enhance the client experience and boost sales. Leading up to this webinar, we learned that on average, a person evaluates their policies 7 times in their life. So getting that initial digital term 10 purchase from a younger prospect could open the doors to additional term renewals, whole life upsells, and critical illness or disability cross-sells in the future. And then how does that look when you're putting it into digital action? Well, with Finaeo, we've streamlined the sales process digitally by providing landing pages for lead generation directly into our software CRM. From there, you can work through the entire sales journey and have your client be part of the experience through a secure client portal. On top of that, we have compliance, document, and meeting note storage as well. And showing what that looks like in chart action on the next slide here. is that with Fineo, you can set up your branded landing page to have that front end web presence, branded to yourself, a little bit about yourself, making yourself easily searchable, and with ease to be able to contact and reach out to as well. When a prospect enters their info, it pre-populates the CRM component of the software. From there, you can invite them to a branded client portal and take them through the entire sales journey digitally. On top of that, you can store clients' policies for them to reference, as well as compliance notes in your own private component of the platform to really digitize that end-to-end sales process. And that's how we've seen some of the trends that have been changing and how we've been acting with Fineo to really be able to cater and provide that digital sales experience and flow through for the ease for the advisor, and get the sales process digitized, easier flowing, less steps, faster, and easier to just upsell, sell more, spend less time on admin, and really focus on your clients. So that's my component of the presentation on what we at Fineo learned from COVID's digital impact on the insurance sales experience. I'll pass it off to Shyam with Valenta BPO to share trends that COVID accelerated, not just in insurance sales, but in the advisory business as a whole.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. I want to say that before I get into my part of the presentation here, that what Fineo is doing is absolutely incredible. There's no other firm that I have seen that is addressing the full gamut of end-to-end technology for an insurance advisor. And I know from speaking with your founder and yourself that there's much more in the pipeline as well. So this is, in the development of Fineo still early stages, in that you have so much more planned in terms of feature set and ability for advisors to do everything in such an integrated way. So I'm really excited for that evolution over the years, and definitely encourage advisors to pay attention to it and definitely be a part of it, provide feedback. So I'll provide a little bit of a background on myself. So I'm a certified financial planner. I've been in the industry since 2013. And I still operate Grow Your Wealth Financial Planning, which is a practice based in Edmonton. It's fully digital. I have clients across the country. And insurance is a big part of what I do. I'm also a fee-for-service, fee-based financial planner. And my talk here today is really related to my work with Valenta. So some background on that is in 2018, I was really looking to grow my practice, and I was finding it very difficult to find a partner who could provide both technology support as well as managed staffing support. And I found Valenta at a conference in the US for financial planners, and the rest is history. Like, I became a client of Valenta's, and I now have 2 full-time assistants, as well as Valenta helping me in my financial planning practice with a lot of the services or the technology customizations that I've implemented in the practice. And a year into being a client, I got approached, and I said, Valenta wanted to grow their presence in Canada. They're a global company, and thinking about where I was before and where I had gotten in a year got me excited about sharing my experience with other advisors, because really there's a big gap in the availability of certain customized services, or at least I had found that gap for myself. And I thought, there must be other advisors who would like to learn about, who would benefit from these services. And I'm pleased actually that on this webinar, we have at least one other advisor who we've done work for. So in short, so Valenta has kind of three arms: process consulting, digital transformation, and managed staffing. And I'm not going to talk too much more about that. And not to continue to hammer the same point home. Kyle made the case for digital transformation really quite clear. And before I do that, sorry, I wanted to mention as well, if you have any questions, please do ask in either the Q&A box or the chat box. We are monitoring those, and we are moving into a more interactive portion. So I would like to see those questions coming in, happy to answer them if I can along the way, or more likely at the end, but really want this to be interactive so you can get the most out of this. So what we're going to move into, like really the benefit of this digitization, automation, delegation, is that you as an advisor have more time for growing your relationships with clients. And ultimately, obviously that means more income for you personally and for your team, but also when you go to sell your practice, it means you get a higher valuation. You're not stuck with the standard valuation that an insurance practice would go for if you didn't take those steps to really set up the systems in your practice that show an advisor who's buying your practice that they don't have to do all the heavy lifting. You've already done a lot of that for them. And so you can demand this higher valuation at time of sale. Again, just hammering those points home is that, benefits we've seen are the ability to do virtual client meetings, and COVID has accelerated all of these trends, the electronic new business applications. And a lot of advisors have moved to completely digital processes because we've really been forced to do that. And really, this is all meant doing more with less, which means you can expand that geographic reach that Kyle talked about as your clients move to different parts of the country. You become more productive, more efficient and effective at being able to deliver all of the solutions that you're used to and that you specialize in delivering. And the work execution can happen much more effectively as well. So this shows the 6 different areas where in your practice, having an intentional approach of digitization, automation, and delegation can have a huge impact. And we'll talk primarily about the sales process and how it relates to staffing as well as technology for the rest of this conversation. But know that the same principles and process applies for the servicing, the digital marketing, the finance and accounting functions of your business. So enough kind of high level theory, and I'm going to show rather than tell you how you can actually do this in your practice. So the key, takeaways 4 and 5 are around designing and documenting your process, which then leads to selecting your technology carefully. That obviously will support your process and make it more efficient. And also the technology, if you choose it correctly, can help you add automations. So if there's mundane stuff, and I'm sure you can think of a few things you do in your practice that's fairly mundane, then either automation or delegation coming to the rescue will mean that, again, you're not doing those tasks that you can pay someone $15 or $30 an hour to do, or you can have a technology solution do for you, which means that you have time to build relationships and sell and increase revenue. So it's kind of an iterative process. So I'm going to share a few kind of interactive process diagrams and maps and lists. And I'm actually just going to use my insurance practice as an example to do that. And so again, these are the 3 steps I've broken down: curating the technology and the automation into kind of steps 2A and 2B, but they're very closely related. So we'll start with number 1, designing your process. So what does that actually mean for you? So here's how I would approach this process, and here's what we've done for advisors. First, we outline all of the options that are available, because there are, at every stage of an insurance practice, whether that's sales initiation, needs analysis, underwriting, preliminary underwriting, quoting, application, and so forth, there are many ways that you can do this. And there are probably multiple ways in a lot of those steps that you are doing it, depending on the scenario, depending on the type of insurance, whether it's life or disability, it's term or permanent. There's probably different ways that you are doing it. So you are following already multiple steps depending on the type of coverage or the type of strategy that you are leading with for your clients. And there's also probably already a suite of technology that you are using, from insurer software to other comparison tools, to now the e-applications, Finaeo. And so outlining all of those options is useful. And then evaluating tools that are visual, interactive, that have integrations, and that help you fulfill multiple stages of the cycle. So if you can choose one piece of technology like Finaeo that does so many of the different steps that are part of the cycle, then you are going to be farther ahead, because you have less logins to deal with and more things that can be done in one place. And then automation and delegation. So I've got a few colors here. So as I go through, you'll see processes defined in purple, or I'll call this white. You'll see some technology in yellow. You'll see some automation opportunities in orange, and you'll see some delegation opportunities in green. Is that okay? So let's take a look at the needs analysis. I probably won't have time to go through all of the different steps. I'm committed to finishing up my presentation in the next 5 to 6 minutes, so we have lots of time for questions. So in the needs analysis area, you probably have or use some format of a worksheet or spreadsheet to do some needs analysis. I know I do, especially for disability. There aren't a lot of tools that are available yet, though we have a growing list of providers who are building that solution. There's insurance software, again, like Finaeo, that has a great needs analysis system for life, critical illness. There's obviously other tools that can do it. And then there's financial planning software. So if you are a user of a financial planning software, some of them, many of them do have the needs analysis function. So you can see there's technology options. I've highlighted a couple of them here. And then there's delegation options, which means who's actually doing the data entry. Is that the advisor? Is there value in the advisor doing the data entry? And that depends, I guess, on how you're collecting the information from your clients. But this is where you kind of get to the nuts and bolts of your practice, and you start documenting how this actually works. So if you know that these are all your options, another way that you can actually list out the steps that are taken by you and your team is simply open up a spreadsheet, a Word document, and write down, okay, what is normally the first step? We have an intro meeting with the client. Great. Okay, maybe after that client meeting, we need to ask for more information. So we send them a checklist of documents if we want to do a more detailed analysis than what was done in the meeting itself in terms of a needs analysis. Or maybe the first step in your process is that you're sending out a form, right? A form that asks questions, or you're sending out the landing page link available from a provider such as Fineo that allows a client to go right into the needs analysis and fill out all of the questions themselves. Whatever your process is right now, a great way to start is simply just to list it. Just list out what it is that you're doing one step at a time. And if you're, as a life insurance broker, doing all of these things right now, that's okay. That's totally fine. That's how most advisors' practices are set up. And once you list all of that out, then you can evaluate, okay, which piece of technology are you using? Are there other options that you can integrate? And it really is an iterative process. You say, you look at a particular step in your process and you say, okay, I think if based on my evaluation of a tool like Finaeo, I think steps 3, 6, and 10 can all be done within Finaeo. Great. You can modify your process and you've implemented an improvement. And this whole process, it's really just step by step, one at a time. Don't try to chew the whale whole. It really is best done on a bite by bite basis. So that's an example here of the needs analysis. I'll share another example maybe in the quoting. So again, you have a number of potential software tools that you can use, including the insurer software, including tools like LifeGuide, LDA, Finaeo, Truth Concepts, and some of them do quoting, some of them also do comparison. And so, lay this out. How are you doing your quotes? How are you doing your final illustrations to show clients the particular product that you're selecting based on that, and then how are you presenting those options? And the neat thing here is there's really been a lot of great progress in technology here, where you can see that Finaeo is in both compare, illustrate, and present. So you have tools now that can do all of these things in one. And so that's a great opportunity to integrate. But everyone's practice is different. You may focus on different areas of insurance, different product styles, different meeting processes. So really just documenting that is really important. And as I kind of close off here, I'll just share an example of automation, because again, everyone's seen or heard of what you can do. Maybe some of you have already implemented it. But I think seeing is always, a great way to get some perspective on what's possible. And so this is, Pipedrive, which is a CRM solution that I use in my practice, but this can be done across pretty much any CRM, Salesforce, Zoho, Equisoft. There's automation capability. So I have a test case deal that I've created here that's under a stage called qualified opportunity. And once we have someone in a qualified opportunity stage, we're booking a meeting with them to do the needs analysis. So if I simply move this deal to needs analysis, what you'll see is that there's automation so it took a few seconds, but it created some activities. And it created some activities not for me, but for my assistant. Because as you lay out your process, you can actually choose, okay, what needs to be done by you and what needs to be done by your assistant and so forth. If I move the stage to the next, it'll create, just taking a minute or two, it'll create another couple of activities. So it is a step-by-step process. When you're doing the automations, you can build out like a spreadsheet that even says, here are the different stages and here are the activities that need to happen at each stage. So for example, at needs analysis, there needs to be illustrations need to be run. So if you have your process documented, this is the kind of stuff that you can start doing. That ultimately then saves you a ton of time and allows you to focus on those relationships that you are best at building. And that's going to be the best use of your time for your income, as well as for your long-term valuation on your business. So a quick summary, you can do this process on your own, and that was my intention here, is to share enough of examples with you that you can start working on this. If this is something that you are now convinced you should be working on, and it is absolutely an iterative process, so it takes, you just keep working on it. Valenta is also available to help you through those steps in a consulting capacity to create those effective workflows, in a technology implementation capacity. Once we've worked through and chosen the technology to actually implement it across your advisory practice. Not, a lot of insurance advisors now are having to be financial planners because that's what the market is demanding. And so as you expand those processes, maybe you're offering investments. So as you integrate your entire practice, then you inevitably have multiple tools that you need to use, and integrations and automations that will help. And then finally, as I mentioned, Valenta has over 200 full-time virtual assistants supporting financial advisors. So we're very deeply integrated into the financial planning, insurance, and investment processes across different countries, and we have a growing presence in Canada. And so we can also help with providing that type of support. So we're here as a potential partner, same as Finaeo, who's building just an incredible technology suite that no one else really in the country is doing right now in that same way. And so I hope you've received some value from our conversation today, and we're really excited now to start taking some questions. As you type in your questions, I'll point to a couple of next steps. So with Finaeo, highly encourage you to reach out to Kyle to sign up for the platform and give it a try and stay active on it and see what portions of your insurance practice you can start integrating the Finaeo system into. And Kyle is available for a 30-minute consultation as well as demo. They have really great support to help you integrate that into your practice. And on the Valenta side, myself and my colleagues, we offer a 30-minute operational analysis, no cost to you, that really we just get to talk about your process, exactly kind of the stuff we were talking about earlier, and answer any questions that you have about the next stage of of growth in your practice. And we also offer a boost pay report, which just outlines what the opportunities are for you to increase your takeaway income. And that's again through leveraging technology and leveraging delegation to structure your practice so that you have you have more time. So really excited to help in any way we can. And I'm going to pass it back over to Kyle. And I will be here as well to answer questions.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, thank you everyone again for attending. And we got a few questions starting to come in, so we'll jump right into that. First one here, is there any prospecting or marketing this platform achieves? So if we're talking about Finaeo, we've built it out in a way from a prospecting or marketing component. We have created outward facing components of the platform in the form of landing pages, which if you don't have a website set up already, it gives you that ability to just create that web presence and then share that web page on a LinkedIn or a Facebook campaign in some other form of marketing. And as you draw prospects to the landing page, you'd be able to, as they enter their name and email, it'll pre-populate right into our platform, so you can immediately invite them to their own secure client portal and really just start that sales process in a digital format from that point. And then what we're working on towards in the future here is also getting quoting widgets available for advisor landing pages as well, just a way where it's to compete with the direct to consumer and keep the power in the advisor's hands with the people that are actually giving appropriate advice to clients, that we can draw prospects in with the attention of technologies that are out there for the direct to consumer.
Take the next question, Kyle.
Yeah, you got that.
Yeah, so the question here is, how much time have you saved by implementing some of the technologies you spoke of? I would say, in 2017, 2018, I was spending upwards of 20 hours on just administration back office work, everything from applications to, following underwriting, and just manually entering tasks into the CRM, and really doing a slightly different process for every client. So your question specifically on implementing technologies, I would say that technologies and processes go hand in hand, and only once I had my process set up could I implement technology. So I would say technologies probably contributed to at least 10 to 15 hours of savings of my time as an advisor. And then having an assistant to delegate to has really just, I really wouldn't have been able to grow my practice to where it is now. Since 2018, my revenue has more than tripled, and I simply wouldn't have had time to actually execute all of that business if I hadn't both implemented the technology and added a team. So I hope that answers your question. We have another question. How do I register for a 30-minute session with Valenta? Please go to the website on your screen. So that's valentabpo.ca/advisor, and sign up there, and we'll reach out to actually schedule the conversation within the next day or two.
And then looks like question related to Finaeo with being dual licensed. How would this portal work for my out of province clients? So in that sense, really, again, what we're building is that singular software to provide that end-to-end sales process for the insurance advisor, where you really go from prospect to policy, or however you want to dub that, but being able to take all those different components of the sales cycle, put them into one platform, and then be able to invite your clients to a branded client portal where they can log in. They'll be able to complete needs assessments. They'll be able to send and receive documentation with you as well. So if you needed, a void check for premium payments or a tax slip, they'd be able to upload that right through the client portal to you as well. So when you are working with clients from out of province, it just gives you that ability where you can quickly log in, send them the information through their client platform, and be able to just complete the sales process right there without being in the same city. You could utilize tools like Zoom, where you can do the face-to-face over a video conference as well. And just really, again, save time and save money. Because if, again, I take it back to the days before anything like this, for me to be selling in Calgary and have a client in Toronto is hop on a plane and having to take paper base right to them. But now that's where, with the advancements with the technology like Finaeo, you can prospect nationwide as long as you have that provincial license set up to sell in that location.
Yeah, the cool thing about this type of technology is that it really is pretty much borderless. As long as you are licensed in a province, you can use it right across the country.
Yeah, and then we have one just recommending what technologies to implement first, and we can both probably give some insights from both sides of it as well. Because I would say if we're looking at a tech stack specifically in insurance sales, it'd be kind of, again, probably what Shyam would recommend in reviewing what you have in place at first. From a ground level, we pride ourselves at Finaeo at being able to really take those 5 or 6 disjointed components of that insurance sales cycle and putting them into one platform so that you're really just able to automate those processes through. Of course, it also hits the point where what's the major pain point in your own tech stack? Is it does it have to do with the marketing side? Does it have to do with bookings and calendars, or how you're meeting with clients as well? And then you can start looking into your social media, like a LinkedIn, getting on Facebook, setting up a web page, which you can do through third parties or through Fineo as well. But then even just setting up other components like a Calendly account, where you can send out one singular link for a client to click, and then it books 30 minutes right into your calendar, automatic, adds a Zoom meeting into it too. So if they're in a different city, you're just able to really access those meetings and those clients from any place, anytime.
Yeah, that was a great list, Kyle. I'm not going to add to that because you covered a lot of great stuff there. If anyone does register for our an operations analysis with Valenta, we will definitely get into a conversation around what technology to implement first.
And then
See a question here, are Fineo and Valenta in the US? So Valenta, yes, absolutely, in the US as well. And Kyle, you can answer the question about Fineo.
Absolutely, same with Finaeo. If you're an advisor operating in the US as well, we have the same mirrored platform with US products, same sales flow, but really just catered to the US market and its products. Maybe time for one more. I guess, what can you automate and what can't you automate in those processes there? I don't know if you want to take that first, Shyam.
Yeah, I think it's some of the same pieces that we covered. Automation examples would be having, like, if you're collecting data from a client to either perform a needs analysis or even to pre-fill an application, using a form like a Google form, a Jot form, you can integrate that into your CRM as an example, and you can have all that data flow right in from the form into the CRM. Another integration that Finaeo has created is the ability to move from a needs analysis and quotation over to the Empire Life application process and have some of that information pre-filled, if I'm not mistaken, right, Kyle?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so great possibilities there for integration. I see a couple of questions in the chat box, Kyle.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, it looks like they can all kind of group together to give a little bit of that information, especially if we're talking as Canadian insurance advisors, just on data security, how things are held, how they're stored, compliance, all that. If I can kind of answer into one component, is that from a Finaeo perspective, we hold all our information cloud-based through Amazon Web Services on Canadian soil if you're a Canadian advisor. So everything stays within our borders. As far as security, we're SOC 2 compliant. We're also compliant with all the rules and regulations of the insurance industry as well. So we're really jumping through the hoops and following all the rules from both the insurance and the finance industry, but as well as the tech industry as well. When we take in client data, it's coded and protected in a way as well that it's not even available and visitable for Fineo staff as well. So any data you put into the database is your client data and only visible to you. From the CRM component that maintains compliance, we also have within the CRM tab the ability to store meeting notes, which we lock up after 14 days, as well as branded proposals that you can put together that get date stamped on them as well. So when you're talking about compliance and it's not if, but when compliance comes knocking, we make sure everything's date stamped, locked, secured, so that you can pass off the information to the auditor and be on to more useful, more important things like dealing with your clients. And then I guess kind of wrapping that up, is it cloud-based in Canada? Yeah, so Amazon Web Services based in Canadian soil. And I think I hit all those compliance questions for you guys, but if there are always more questions as well, I'd be happy to meet one-on-one and always talk in that in more detail. And even if you're interested, you could go to fineo.com/security and you'd be able to read all the information right through there as well.
And, see a question about, so if you have any questions specifically about Fineo, please reach out to Kyle directly, because they're obviously in a much better place to answer questions about the platform and will provide you exceptional support. If you have any questions on any of the process setup or any other technology, or you just want to talk about structuring your insurance practice as a whole, then please do reach out to myself at Valenta through the form on the screen.
Yeah, perfect. And I think that more or less wraps up our time. Don't want to keep anyone too much longer here, but like Shyam said, if you're interested in learning more about either the processes with Valenta or learning about the software with Fineo, you have our information right here. You can go online, get connected that way. You also have our emails and cell phones there if you wanted to reach out directly. And we'll be happy to discuss in more detail one-on-one.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate your taking the time to come out. I know you have busy days. Hope you received lots of value, and we look forward to connecting one-on-one or otherwise in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. Best of luck to you.